Hey everybody, Happy New Year to you all, and all the possibilities that 2021 holds for all of us, both you individually, you and your families, if you were with them, and also just for us as a church. We obviously don't know what's coming in the next year, but I'm hopeful and look forward to not only continuing to worship with you each week, but also the good things that we're going to be able to do. I was listening to someone last week talk about 2020, just like, phew, finally, let's get out of 2020 because of all the difficulties. And that makes sense to me. I definitely get that. Yet I also had to interject this idea that there are a lot of things about 2020 that I look back on where I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about my family. I learned a lot about the journey. And really, I learned a lot about God. And so I look at those difficult things and all that it meant to have faith in the midst of difficult circumstances. And we learned how to have hope. So here we are. We're at the dawn of a new year. And I don't know what we're going to learn. But I am filled with gratitude in my heart for what's coming, but also even for what has passed. And I pray that we will keep our focus this year on where it needs to be. That it'll be a year filled with joy and love and contentment. So with that, I begin the new year with Psalm 96. Sing to the Lord a new song. Sing to the Lord all the earth. Sing to the Lord. Praise his name. Proclaim his salvation day after day. Declare his glory among the nations. His marvelous deeds among all peoples. For great is the Lord, most worthy of praise. He is to be feared above all other gods. For all the gods of the nations are idols, but it is the Lord who made the heavens. Splendor and majesty are before him. Strength and glory are in his sanctuary. Ascribe to the Lord, all you families. Ascribe to the Lord glory and strength. Ascribe to the Lord the glory due his name. Bring an offering and come into his courts. Worship the Lord in the splendor of his holiness. Tremble before him, all the earth. Say among the nations, the Lord reigns. The world is firmly established. It cannot be moved. He will judge the peoples with equity. So let the heavens rejoice. Let the earth be glad. Let the sea resound and all that is in it. Let the fields be jubilant and everything in them. Let all the trees of the forest sing for joy. Let all creation rejoice before the Lord. I believe we have a good God who is with us as we enter into this new year, looking so that we can link arm in arm as a church and go and do good things. Adam and the worship team are going to lead us in a song, Good to Me, a reminder of who our God is. Adam.
I put all my hope on the truth of your promise. And I steady my heart on the ground of your goodness. When I'm bowed down with sorrow, I will lift up your name. And the foxes in the vineyard will not steal my joy, because you are good to me, good to me. You are good to me, good to me. You are good to me. And I lift mine eyes and mercy shall follow me all my life. I trust in your promise, your goodness and mercy shall follow me all my life. I trust in your promise, your goodness and mercy shall follow me all my life. I trust in your promise. You are good to me, good to me. You are good to me, good to me. You are good to me. You are good to me, good to me. You are good to me, good to me. You are good to me.
Thank you, Adam, and the worship team. Really appreciate you all. We've appreciated you all throughout 2020, and again, here we start 2021, and just so thankful for everything that all of our musicians and all of our singers and Adam and Gabe and everybody puts in every week to make our worship go in the remote locations that everybody is. We'll hear from them again in a little bit. I do have a few things to know as we continue today. Just a reminder that we're going to have our Christmas slideshow after service today. So what we ask people to do, take pictures of various decorations that they like in their house and in their apartments and even in their workplaces, wherever you want it, and send them to the Journey community, and we'll have the slideshow. We're going to do that right after service, so stick around and you can watch that. Also, Sevens is this coming Saturday evening. If you are unfamiliar with Sevens, it is one of our ministries at the Journey in which we just try to do good things in the world. With Sevens, we go up to Boulder and we feed the homeless of Boulder a meal that we like to say we would be proud to serve in our own homes. And so we do this twice a month, the second and third Saturday evening of every month. We meet at 4 o'clock right now just to make sure that there's enough time for people to be able to catch buses if they need to various shelters around the city. But we'll send out an email later today with information how you can sign up and participate. We use Sign Up Genius, and everything as it continues to be remote. We just want you to have an opportunity to continue to participate in giving little sections of that meal. So we need about 15 to 20 people giving parts of that meal, and then whoever might be willing and able to go up to Boulder and help serve, we would appreciate it. One other thing is at the beginning of every month, we give a financial update. So if you're pretty new to the Journey, we just kind of do this at the beginning of the month, and it's the first week in January. But we're also in a unique time right now where we have an opportunity to kind of give an update for all of 2020, how we ended up doing financially as a church. So this is the numbers we put out there in December. Is our 2020 budget was $18,500 per month, and our need in December was $22,527 to make budget for the year. So we came to you in December and we just kind of put it out there. We knew we had a lot of stuff with our Christmas drive where we just gave hundreds of gifts to people in need, but we also just said, hey, if you can help out a little bit or a little bit more at the Journey, we would really appreciate it. And we said we need our regular budget of $18,500, plus there you can see about $4,000 extra. So how did we do? Wait for it. Here it comes. There you are. All right, 2020 budget, $18,500. And then we needed $22,527. We brought in at the Journey $23,064. It was in fact our largest offering we've ever had at the Journey. I was excited. I'm going to just give us a hand. Way to go. I'm going to look at my daughter, Vienne. Is she giving? Hey, she even gave us a hand. There we are. All right. Good job, everybody. But really, I told you a few weeks ago, I always bet on the Journey, and the Journey always seems to come through. You are an awesome church community. People who deeply care about their faith, but also care about doing good in the world. Thank you so much for your financial gifts in 2020. Obviously, it was a different year for us as a church, and I'm just so proud of how many people helped keep the Journey going in a variety of ways, including with your giving. One final note on that is our 2021 budget is going to be the same, $18,500 per month. Last year, we had a fantastic January, just fantastic. It really kind of helped propel us even into when we had to go through the shutdown with the church into some really good financial places for the rest of the year. Please keep the Journey in mind as we're in January, both this month and in the months ahead, so we can, as I say, continue to be healthy. Some people are having financial distress as we head into 2021. So it's important on those who are not. It is incumbent on us to give and to help keep us healthy as a church. Those of you who are struggling financially right now, we just hope this is a blessing to you. That's all we want from you, is to come and be blessed. There are many others who can help in a variety of ways, including financially. Finally, please continue to pray for the pastors in our wisdom, that we can make good financial decisions and that we have good financial stability so we can make decisions on the fly in the months ahead. If you would like to give, these are the same places that we always give you. PayPal, there is a link under the Get Involved page. It just says donate, and you can go there. Or you can send gifts to our address at the Journey Church, P.O. Box 351642, Westminster 80035. Again, we'll give that information in an email later today. Those reminders are the same as we had last year. Give consistently. We averaged about 70 givers per month in last year, and that's about exactly what we need to hit to get about 18,500 per month. Give cheerfully. We want people to know that this is a place to give with joy. And then finally, give more. If you're able to give a little bit or even a little bit more, it would be very much appreciated. Before we go to prayer and Adam, I do want to remind you that our King Soopers Community Rewards Program is still available for anybody who'd like to help out in that way. All you do is, we'll email this out as well today, is go and sign up to have a rewards number. Put your number if you go to King Soopers. And when you go to King Soopers, you put your rewards number in. If it's linked to the Journey Church, and we'll show you again how to do that, 5% of anything you buy, 5% of that money comes to the Journey. It costs you nothing except just maybe like 5 minutes to go on your computer and do this, or on your phone. But again, 5% comes back to the Journey. We reserve all of that money to go into a Compassion Opportunities Fund to help us continue to do all of the good things we do, including things like Sevens that we talked about earlier. All right, I'm going to turn it over to one of our pastors, Jackie Reitzma. She's going to pray for us as we continue. And then after Jackie's prayer, the worship team is going to lead us into a worship song. It as well as the song, some of you know it, some of you know it very well. It is a reminder for us as we enter into the new year that our souls, who we are, our identity, it belongs to God. And it is going to be well. So I encourage you, sing along or let the words pour over you. Whatever brings you into a place of worship today. Jackie.
Good morning, Journey Church. I'm so thankful to gather here with you for this first service of 2021. As we continue in our service, please join me in prayer. Gracious God, as we come together at the beginning of this new year, we look forward to the year to come. We are confident that you have been with us and that you will be with us. God, we know you'll be with us in times of joy and sorrow, in times we feel energized and when we feel drained, in times we feel loved and in times we don't. Although the world we live in can be messy and challenging sometimes, we know that you're with us and ask you to give us grace, wisdom, and courage to live faithfully this year. God, remind us throughout our service today and in our lives to work hard to bring your love and hope into this world. Amen.
Granted, earth has quaked before, moved by the sound of his voice. Seas that are shaken and stirred can be calm and broken for my regard. And through it all, my eyes are on you. And through it all, it is well. And through it all, my eyes are on you. And it is well with me. Far be it for me to not believe, even when my eyes can't see. And this mountain that's in front of me will be thrown into the midst of the sea. And through it all, my eyes are on you. And through it all, it is well. And through it all, my eyes are on you. And it is well. It is well. So let go, my soul, and trust in him. The waves and the wind still know his name. So let go, my soul, and trust in him. The waves and the wind still know his name. So let go, my soul, and trust in him. The waves and the wind still know his name. The waves and the wind still know his name. It is well with my soul. It is well And through it all, it is well. And through it all, my eyes are on you, and it is well with me.
Maya Angelou said, I think that we're in the presence of courage when we see a person during cruel times being kind. We know we're in the presence of courage when everyone is on the run. Ideas are on the run. Everything is fluid. Everything is volatile. And a person has the patience, gives herself or himself time to allow someone else to have time. That is courage. In a time of greed, when to have more means to be more, and someone is generous, instead of taking in, is giving out, that is courage. When war is being threatened or promised, when there's much waving of knives and brandishing of cannons and rattling of sabers, and a person talks about peace, that is courage. Without courage, you can't practice any other virtue consistently. You can't be consistently fair, kind, generous, patient, without courage. Courage is acting in faith despite fear. As a kid, I'm not sure I had much courage. If you hear the stories from my parents, it's like I was a scared little kid a little too often. I mean, I loved God, but I think I loved my fear and my safety a little bit more than my faith. But then I started to be put in these positions as I grew up where I had to be a bit fearful and still have to face that. And so I'd feel that fear inside, maybe even like anxiety starting to rise up because of it. And I'd have to choose faith and this kind of total reliance on who I thought God was, how I think God works in the world. My learning curve was really steep to find more and more courage. It's kind of why I'm still stunned to just kind of see courage by people, to hear stories of courage. In Mark chapter 5, Mark writes about Jesus noticing an act of true courage, and then he affirms it by calling it an example of faith. So the center of the story is this woman. She has been bleeding, hemorrhaging really, for 12 years. Now just put that into perspective. She basically had a continual period for 12 years. Something was very medically wrong, but she could never find the help she needed. And there were these major cultural taboos as well around a woman's time of the month. So she wasn't allowed to go into the temple and worship. She was considered untouchable by the rest of society for 12 years. She lived as this sort of invisible woman in the shadows. It is tough to live a rejected life. That at every turn, you feel like you're not accepted. It just starts to wear down your self-esteem, your sense of belonging, your sense of worth. This is what made her compelling act of courage so remarkable. It's one of those stories that makes me stop in my tracks. She was determined when she saw Jesus. In her mind, I will touch the holy man. He will heal me. Even in this position of obscurity and feeling rejected by the rest of the world, the ailing woman, she reaches out to touch Jesus. She pushes through a large crowd. She asserts herself. Here's how Mark describes it. A large crowd followed and pressed around him, And a woman was there who had been subject to bleeding for 12 years. She'd suffered a great deal under the care of many doctors, had spent all she had. Yet instead of getting better, she got worse. Verse 27, when she heard about Jesus, she came up behind him in the crowd and touched his cloak, because she thought, if I touch his clothes, I will be healed. Immediately, her bleeding stopped. She felt in her body that she was freed from her suffering. At once, Jesus realized that power had gone out from him. He's turning around, looking at the crowd and asking, "Who touched my clothes?" Now, this woman, she had mustered up the courage, all that she had, to overcome her fear and just touch the edge of Jesus' clothes. And by the way, touching Jesus, according to the kind of prevailing political and religious custom, it would mean you've contaminated him. You've kind of made him ceremonially unclean. And so Jesus could have paid her no attention or even gotten pretty upset. But instead, he comes to this abrupt stop. And he looks around and he says, "Who touched me? Who was that?" So the disciples, they respond. They said, you see the people crowding around against you, and yet you can ask us who touched me? I mean, how are we going to know who touched you? But Jesus, he just kept looking around. Who had done this? And then the woman, knowing what had happened to her, came and fell at his feet, trembling with fear. So, yep, lots of fear there. That's okay. That happens. But courage right next to it. She told him the whole truth. And he, Jesus, said to her, "Daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace and be freed from your suffering." It's as if the way Mark tells this story is that Jesus is wanting the disciples and really wanting us to see the living image of someone who makes a courageous act normal. Someone who, with all of their fear, still makes faith normal. And by the way, this courage is rewarded, but not because Jesus heals her. That's not the reward here. Look what it says again. "Daughter, it is your faith that has healed you." You see, experiencing the presence of God is not something that just magically happens. Oh, I just feel spiritual. 2021, I'm just going to feel spiritual. To experience God's presence requires that we move in the world with courage, with faith. And that is what the woman did. She made a step of faith because God's grace and presence are realities for all of us to experience. For me, after growing out of being a child into being a man, I realized I wanted to have more courage. I would hear these stories. I would see these things. I was like, I want to be like that. But it took for me some work of faith to remove that fear. Now, for some of you, maybe courage just comes easy. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe you're a little more like me. It's like a skill you have to learn. To have courage like that requires a few things. I think the first one is you've got to notice others. You've got to start looking, because there is actual courage all around us. Acts of faith, people who love God and then show it with their courageous deeds. I notice a friend who confronts another about something really difficult. Most people I see grow resentful or slowly distance themselves when they're upset at another person. But this friend goes toward the other, confronts but with love, and finds even more intimacy. And I see courage. I notice the man who spent his entire life not taking risks, but then finding himself frustrated at every turn. And he chooses to venture out into the world to do something of substance. And I see courage. I notice the woman who musters up the faith in God and subsequently the faith in herself to leave an abusive and unfaithful marriage. And I see courage. I notice the woman brutally raped by 3 men at 13 years old in a way that would cause her medical problems the rest of her life. Then to only be neglected by her mother, to somehow find the faith inside to move towards hope, to even move toward forgiveness, find the strength to go to school, find a career, raise a family herself, and then spend her adult years looking for ways to give to others in the community. And that story makes me cry because I see so much courage. And I want that courage. I want to be that person. And so I start to notice myself. In noticing and contemplating all of these other acts of courage, we start to examine our own lives, our own areas of weakness and lack of faith. Who do we want to be? See, courage, it's not standing up to evil empires, engaging in heroic battles, or even climbing Mount Everest. Courage is demonstrated in the choices in your daily life. It is courageous to open yourself and own up to a past mistake. It is courageous to face the difficulties in your own family of origin. It is courageous to realize you don't feel fulfilled in your life and start to make different choices down a different road. It is courageous to realize that we have something that holds us back and choose to say no more. And so then I notice my strength. We move beyond our weaknesses and we focus on those things that make us strong. With faith as our guide, we can choose to be stronger in our actions. We can choose how we treat ourselves, how we treat others, how we allow others to treat us. It takes courage to face up to the kind of person we really want to be. And let me add one thing here real quick. If you struggle with courage like I had for so long, you're in pretty good company. The Bible is straightforward and honest about its heroes. Seldom are they portrayed as these confident, self-assured leaders, we kind of expect them to be. More often than not, the Bible's characters are crippled with fear and doubt and excuses, but they muster just enough courage to be used by God. Moses complained to God about his own failures and shortcomings, so much that God sent him an assistant. But Moses still did the things of God. Gideon told God, I need signs, I need assurances that you're really by my side. So God did it, but Gideon did good things for God. Even Jeremiah, he told God, I'm too young to take on certain risks. It's interesting, being too young is often an excuse in the Bible, but God saw it as an opportunity to do good through him. We're all kind of in this together is what I'm saying. This fear and faith, and how do we balance it? It's just what makes us human. And yeah, we're weak at times, but we need reminders that we can do these things. So I close today with an encouragement to you. And by the way, you will notice embedded in that word encouragement is courage. It's basically me giving you courage. When you encourage me, you give me courage. Be an encourager. That's what we can all do for one another at the very least. So I encourage you. Courage is acting in faith despite fear. It's okay that you have fear, but you still move forward in faith. When you act in faith and find courage, you start to see the courage increases in your life. So you want to lash out at someone. By the way, they probably deserve it, but you hold your tongue. That takes courage. When all around us we notice fear and worry, anxiety that starts to build up in people, starts to build up all around society, and we stop it from entering into our own spirit, that's courage. We risk our job by taking a truthful stand on a policy we don't agree with. Courage. When we notice that in our conversations we talk a lot more about social media or politics or current events than we do about God or spiritual matters, and we choose to act and talk different. Courage. And maybe we go a little more internal and we notice the things about ourselves that we're most insecure about. We start to realize that those insecurities are causing us all sorts of problems. It affects how we live and how we choose to move forward. And we say we are going to feel that fear, and with faith, we're going to move forward with God anyway. Courage. We notice how shy we are in certain situations, and that shyness is just another word for fear. And we face those fears, and we do hard things sometimes. That is courage. Or we have a secret, and we're scared of being found out. It's a secret we don't dare speak. It feels so overwhelming and difficult. And then we choose to tell someone we can trust. And that is courage. And ultimately, when we all face our own shame, and we realize we do not need to feel so bad about ourselves and our lives, that we choose to grow in positive ways, leaving the negativity behind, that is courage. And I will add this last one. When we hope, when you hope, that is courage. It is in these acts of courage we find our truest selves. We maintain our integrity, we nourish our souls, and we find healing for ourselves, but also healing for others as we provide channels for the presence of God to move in the world. Pray with me. Lord, I just pray that each of us is not governed by fear. Help each of us not be bound by the expectations of others or these assumptions we may hold about ourselves, but that we can break free. Help us to not live in the cage of untruth that can bind us and keep us from real growth and becoming our true self in you. So I pray for courage for me, for my fellow pastors, and for my fellow church community. Courage to be honest with ourselves, courage to be honest with others, courage to have faith and then make decisions based on that faith so that we embody truth, love in how we live. God, ultimately, please continue to provide hope to everyone in their home today, whatever they're going through today, God. And it's in your name we pray. Amen. All right. As we close our service, we take the Eucharist each and every week at the Journey. It's just a reminder for us of why we do what we do, so that when we wake up and it's a rough day this coming Tuesday or Friday or whenever, we have a touchstone to go back to and say, that's right, this is what matters in life. At this time, I would encourage you to have something available to take the Eucharist with the rest of the church community. If you have bread or wine or juice prepared, or honestly, anything else could substitute, I encourage you, get that ready. By the way, before we take the Eucharist together, I just want to say there was courage when Jesus went to the cross. If you remember the night before his death, he's alone. He's mainly alone because his disciples all fell asleep when he asked them on this one night, stay awake with me. They didn't do that. So he is alone in this garden, praying, thinking about what is to come the next day at the cross. And fear comes out. He says, Father, if you are willing, take this cup from me. Yet not my will, but yours be done. The Old Testament uses the cup as a metaphor for suffering in our lives. Jesus is looking at the future, less than 24 hours away. And he makes this brief plea, a plea of worry, a plea of possibility of not having to go through the pain. But then courage follows. Not my will, but yours be done. The courage to take on a difficult task head on. The courage to take ownership of what we're supposed to be doing in life. The courage to become the person you want to be. The courage to go to the cross and take on the pain, sin, shame, and guilt of humanity. The courage to love just that much. So let us take the bread and the wine ourselves and find that courage. We collectively take the bread in honor of Christ's body broken and the wine in honor of Christ's blood spilled for us. And then we go into the world facing our fears this week and meeting them head on with faith. And maybe we find we're pretty courageous after all. Let us now take the Eucharist together. I will remind you, every single week, the Journey Church is a church of hope. We're a church that pushes for good things in the world. We all individually are trying to do this, but being a church community means we are linking arms with other like-minded people to say we are pushing for good. There is courage in doing that as a church. So we will be here next Sunday, 10:30 a.m., and every Sunday after that, as long as it takes to keep pushing back fear and bringing in hope. I close now with our benediction as a church. Finally, my brothers and sisters of the Journey Church, we choose courage. When fear rises, we choose courage. When the world feels daunting, overwhelming even, we choose courage. We choose to live with faith and with hope in 2021. And God, we desire to work alongside you to bless the world. We ask you to give us your wisdom, both individually and as a church, in the days ahead. And it is with great praise we together as a church say, Amen. We will see you next Sunday morning at 10:30 a.m. right back here for our live service with the Journey Church. Have a hopeful week ahead. Stay for a few minutes and watch the Christmas slides.
earth has quaked before, moved by the sound of his voice. Seas that are shaken and stirred can be calm and broken for my regard. And through it all, my eyes are on you. And through it all, it is well. And through it all, my eyes are on you. And it is well with me. Far be it for me to not believe, even when my eyes can't see. And this mountain that's in front of me will be thrown into the midst of the sea. And through it all, my eyes are on you. And through it all, it is well. And through it all, my eyes are on you. And it is well. It is well. So let go, my soul, and trust in him. The waves and the wind still know his name. So let go, my soul, and trust in him. The waves and the wind still know his name. So let go, my soul, and trust in him. The waves and the wind still know his name. The waves and the wind still know his name. It is well with my soul. It is well with my soul.